Welcome in, everybody, to the Flagship podcast. I am Chip Brown, and I am very excited to be joined today by Nelson Stewart, the head coach at Isidore Newman High School in Nollins, the head coach of Arch Manning, who has just set off a Pied Piper effect for Texas. This is the craziest offseason I've ever seen, Coach. First of all, thanks so much for joining us.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. We actually just finished a film session, and as my quarterback has made his decision, my day has opened up a little more. All of a sudden, some of the coaches and whatnot haven't been called as much. So no, it's my pleasure, and I'm thrilled for him. And Will Randall, I think he's made the right decision, and certainly this is the happiest I've ever seen him. So we're thrilled for him down here.
Well, it sounds like you've been like full-throated coaching.
Yeah,
I
yeah. No,
mean,
I have issues. I know I need to learn to go from my diaphragm, but yeah, it's I kind of have that eternal rasp, I guess, at all times. But yeah, it gets loud in the weight room. But I know we're close. We're almost in August, so I got to drink some lemon tea so I can get ready.
you and Gary Patterson have that
Yeah,
sort of
yeah, yeah.
eternal rasp. Well, listen, before we get to Arch and the incredible offseason that he's sort of triggered for Texas, I want to talk about you because you played at Isidore Newman with Cooper and Peyton.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I that was kind of when my football journey began back in 1991. Cooper was a senior captain, and it's crazy that my first teammate son ever coach would be Arch. You wouldn't think it, but yeah, no, I actually played middle school. Peyton was a year above me, but Cook was the I would say funny, flamboyant captain, but it ended up being the best team we've ever had. They came within 7 points of the state championship. Peyton and Cook back in the day, and we didn't throw it as much. Cook still had 1,200 yards receiving. Peyton had a little over 2,000. Obviously, the majority of the Cooper, but they had a great connection. And yeah, I basically, I got in there, fell in love with football. That really changed our program. We were kind of more of a basketball school, and was blessed that came up next under Peyton, and he really helped kind of raise us to prominence. And after we finished, I was fortunate to play collegiately at Tulane 4 years, and really it was a quick trip. I've been here 24 years since, so this will be my 17th year as head coach. And it's I didn't go very far. I went down the street, but yeah, Coop's always been a hero of mine. He's handled the recruiting so well. I have to remind him that back in the day when they could haze, he actually shaved my head when I was 14 because you could do that back then. But he was a great captain, and really just a great teammate. And I've known their family my whole life, and they've obviously put a lot of trust in me in this process. So I'm very grateful.
Well, two things. You were on the undefeated Tulane team, right? And
Yes.
what year was that? 98?
98. Yes,
Under
yes.
Tommy Bowden?
Yep.
I
No,
don't
yeah.
I don't think Peyton or Eli played on any undefeated teams in college, did they?
Well, I would say they probably played more of a prominent role on the teams that they did play. So I did slightly. No, I don't. But no, I think that was a neat thing for me in terms of my coaching education, and that I was recruited by Buddy Stevens as a preferred, and lucky enough to work my way to a scholarship. But still, as a backup lineman, Coach Stevens did such a good job assembling the roster, and then Coach Bowden and Rich Rodriguez really helped shape me in terms of my offensive ideology and watching the culture and the things just that they did in that time. So yeah, it was, I was fortunate to be, on that undefeated team, and went to the Liberty Bowl way back when, 12-0. I still have my ring that my son pretty much wears. But no, that really, is when I started learning about the spread offense and some of the things you do downfield. And I was very fortunate. I had a great football journey. And then I never in a million years thought that my alma mater would need an O-line coach the next year. So I've been real fortunate, got in there, and then, right after Katrina became the head coach. So it's been kind of it feels like it's been a long time, but it feels like a quick trip. It's gone by in an instant.
Well, one thing I just learned in the last week was that Cooper was offered by Texas as a tight end. David McWilliams, the coach then, and I had a conversation. He said, "Yeah, I did. I offered Cooper as a tight end." Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. I remember it was Ole Miss, UVA, Texas. He had a core of schools, that were after him. And the thing with Cooper was, Cook was 6'3", about 200 pounds, and he was incredibly athletic. And, actually his senior year, the team won the state championship. He was a guard, he was a shooter, just a real good athlete. So, he definitely had options. And, I say that with Newman football in 91. We have a wall of all-time players, but from 91 to about 77, it was pretty dry. So that was a big deal to get that offer. So yeah, no, I remember. And in the old Times Picayune, it was where will he go? And it was, I think Texas is on the UVA and Ole Miss. So no, I remember it well. And no, I think he definitely fit that H-back tight end role. He could flex out. Obviously had a great football IQ. So yeah, no, I remember it really well.
Well, that's cool. I didn't realize that until, like I said, a week ago, but here we are. We've come full circle, as you said. Your first teammate's kid that you're coaching is Arch Manning. And, I know you've given a bunch of interviews. We really appreciate you taking the time. But
Sure.
now that you've had time to gain perspective on it, is there anything you could compare this to, or anything that just stands out as a lasting, lifelong memory from Arch Manning's recruitment?
You know, um, I say this wholeheartedly, having, we've had some great players. Odell Beckham, that was a little crazy when I had Odell. And, we've had a couple guys, Stanford. I think I could write a book. This is kind of one of those generational ones. And, too many stories. I remember, the first 7-on-7 we went to, surrounded by coaches. And after Archer's first touchdown, Ed Ogeron, was running after him to like hug him, and Arch was running away because he's 14. He's like, "What are you doing?" He had a dig out, and I think we've always kind of together been through it, never get caught up. But when LSU won the national championship, and I remember a few days later, Ed Ogeron marching through the front of the school just to say hi. I got a feeling this is going to be different. I remember the first time met Lane Kiffin and Sark, all these guys coming through. It has been, for what we say, for it feels like 7 years, a full-time job. Arch has, I don't think Arch has any idea the amount of spotlight and speculation and time taken to invest in it. And I credit Cooper. We were on it early. I remember I said, what are we going to do? And we formulated a plan. I think it worked. And then you threw in the pandemic, which added a whole different deal. And, I think that, little memories, and I'm not just saying it, my most vivid memory, and I can close my eyes, is a week or so after Texas had hired Sark. I never heard of him. I got a text from Terry Joseph, and he's like, "Hey, buddy, somebody wants to talk to you." And so Arch and I couldn't see Arch, and I'm in my office, and Arch is in his room, and all of a sudden I saw that Longhorn background. I look up, and this blonde is smiling, goes, "Hey, you guys doing? I'm AJ Milwee," and we're like, "Hey, and." I mean, the second Sark jumped in, there he is, and that you could just see it, how they connected, and the countless Zooms, people coming through. I remember my favorite FaceTime with Arch and Sark, because he was really important with Arch. It was always, hey, I would be there to get through. We actually FaceTimed. Sark was at a conference meeting outside of an auditorium, and Arch was in a fun arcade babysitting in a lounge, and they're sitting there, going back and forth. And, I could go all day. I mean, I've had times when there are 12 coaches in my small office from SEC, ACC, Big 12, all over, just trying to get a chance. And, I remember when LSU was here and Terry Joseph walked through the door, and all of a sudden Pete Golding came out of like a bullet, joking, tackling AJ Milwee in the doorway. And all of a sudden, Polian looks at me, Coach Polian, goes, "What have we gotten into?" I was like, "You have no idea." So, look, I've pushed pre-K kids on swings with Bill O'Brien, and I've talked to AJ Milwee more than my wife. And Sark, has been, phenomenal, and too many. But he has handled it so well. I can say that. The thing about Arch, he didn't get caught up in it. I'm still not on Twitter. He now is. I love how he announced it, but there could be a 30 for 30, I would think, but I would never want to do that. It's all about the kid, and I think he and his family got this one right. And look,
Well,
hats off. to Sark and AJ.
Well, you mentioned the plan that you and Cooper had a plan. What was the plan to try to manage it?
Well, I think that, his words were, I want you to run point. And you see a lot of times this goes, Nelson, as he said, Nelson, I need you to run point. And I was like, you got it. He's like my big captain teammate. And so basically was, it wanted to be like a 70s recruitment, meaning contact the coach, work to the family. They can huddle, garner interest, and not make it so that Arch was always, accessible. Make it where he could have a normal high school existence. And I think part of it was to give him the information. I never went to Arch. Guess who's here today? Guess who came through? It was to let them know, let them talk, deliver that message, and then run filter for if they wanted to connect. Sometimes it was everything from, hey, we'd like a Zoom with Notre Dame, or, hey, maybe, they're whittling through and whatnot. But every single school, there wasn't one school that came through they didn't know about. And I can assure you, if they're out there, they came through. And so just constant communication, no social media. I try to be very careful with my personal meetings. And the other thing is really, truly to not push him, to not sway him. And that's my thing as a coach. I'm the head football coach at Newman School. There's nothing in this for me to just stay neutral, allow his family to run point from every visit to every traveling. And really, once they got in the final phase, while I still were at, was point, they had those real discussions. And so they handled it beautifully. I don't know if you'll ever see one like that again, but credit to his family. But yes, it was a full-time job, nonstop, with a floppy-haired 6'4" quarterback growing up kind of sometimes with no idea what was going on.
I mean, Coach, this has been how long? I mean, 2 years?
I say 7, but really 4
Yeah.
years as guys go through. It's been 4 years.
4 years.
Obviously as a freshman that, he had that All-American season that I still don't know how he did it, but we had so much fun back then. And all of a sudden when it opened and you could come through, I was like, oh boy, this is different. And so we at that point kind of came up with a plan. But yeah, it's been so much a part of my life. I was at lineman night last night for hitting sleds and stuff for the kids. I'm like, wow, I don't have 20 missed phone calls or whatnot. And so breathing a little bit again. And like I said, he's certainly never been happier, but it's been 4 years of my life and it's been a full-time job.
I love it. Pushing kids on swings with Bill O'Brien.
He was good.
I mean, so Will Randall, you mentioned Will Randall, the tight end who's also at Isidore Newman. He committed first.
He did.
To Texas. Was there any method or madness to that? Because I think some people looked at that and kind of started getting excited.
I swear on everything. One thing about me is I'm very honest and open. After each trip, Arch was always guarded. Tell me one good thing, one bad thing. After Randall had come, he was in Texas gear pretty much every day. And, Arch was still guarded. So I had a feeling, and I treated their recruitment separate. I think I talked to his father, and as I said, it's what's right for him. We had an idea he was going to do it, and Arch was very low key. It was just a few days ago when AJ Milwee was calling, going, "Where are we?" I said, "We're pretty guarded on this thing," but no, it was his moment, and so Randall went in, he did it. There was, burnt orange everywhere. He had balloons in his house, and Arch was very low key. And, really, truly, after a day or two, I thought, Peyton had come in town with Eli to see a 7-on-7, talk to them. As Nils, how you doing? And I still get nervous around Peyton. So I was like, okay, I don't think anything's going to come of it. They went to dinner, and it was, I actually always make a point. AJ asked for one clip a day to watch of Arch. And so I said, here's your boy running a 75-yard sprint. And I hadn't even said it. And all of a sudden, my little kid's camp on Thursday, the Manning camp, I got 5 missed calls from Arch. I haven't had 5 missed calls from Arch probably in a year. And so I thought something was wrong. And he picks it up and, Coach, I want to thank you for everything. And I was like, what is about to happen? And he told me, and the hairs on my neck stood up. He said, whatever you do, just, Coach, please, if you wouldn't mind, sir, don't tell anyone. So I had no idea. And all of a sudden, I was just, let's just say I was excited. And all of a sudden, when that tweet hit, and 5 minutes before I picked up the phone, and AJ Milwee said, how about that? And I said, I go, I don't know what to say. He goes, I can't talk right now. I don't know what to say. And I have a kids camp tonight. I don't know if I can go. All I can say is thank you. And it was the most humbling, unbelievable. And then I wait and then interviews all day. I'd go to Manning camp. I walked in, I was the last counselor, and I was like, I guess I didn't know. And Sark called, and he's just like yelling and screaming. So unbelievable, so happy, and it felt right. But it's a lot of Austin feel. It's the first time I've had that many interviews with people from Austin. Now, I do want to say this, that I give so much credit to those guys, and I don't just say it. AJ Milwee 2 times during spring was in the weight room at 6:45, and they turned the lights on when I got there, and he's also the last one out. When I say I talked to him more than my wife, I mean it. He called every single day. Sark's so accessible, and they did the work. They formed the relationship. This was all about them. So, I celebrate them in this, and I also had no idea the army kind of behind Arch that was with them. So, look, hats off to Texas. So it's been
Wow.
amazing.
Wow. In the social media, I mean, how ironic, I guess, that Arch announces it on social media when he had avoided social media throughout the recruitment, right?
Yeah, but he's still a kid. And I think what's neat is it's okay for Arch to be on Twitter. And like I told me, it's okay to be a kid. And, when he's in the weight room as a meeting. And I liked it because I think that it was a way of saying, this is where I'm going. And I got 8. Was he going to do an interview? No, he's let you know. That's how he is. And he used that platform. And, a neat thing about that people don't know is, I don't know, so it is that picture. When he had gone to Texas the first time, Terry Joseph had sent me a Rolodex, and then I got some from Georgia. And then when I sent him to Archie Manning, all these pictures, he sent one picture back. He said, "Now I love this one." It was that picture of Arch throwing the
Wow.
football, and just kind of you think about it, and I'll never forget that. And it was beautiful. I thought it was perfect, and really, it sums it up. And so, when he called me, I was so excited. I kept talking. He said, "Coach, I don't mean to cut you off, sir, but I have a lot of people to call before I make this. So is it okay?" I was like, "I'm sorry." So he's so polite. He was so excited. And, everybody couldn't be more thrilled.
All right, we'll take a quick break talking to Nelson Stewart, the head coach at Isidore Newman in New Orleans. Of course, the head coach of Arch Manning. We'll be right back here on the Flagship podcast. And if you're watching us on the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel, we'll roll on. And Coach, we won't keep you too much longer. But, Arch Manning, the teammate, that's the part that we know he's got the skills, he's got the tools, but what is he like as a teammate? What's he like in the locker room around his fellow players?
And I try not to do too much coach speak, but he's phenomenal. And I think when it comes to Arch, and I've told him this, he's had every reason to, feel entitled or to want the spotlight. He is the absolute opposite. And I go through his career as a freshman. He dressed in the freshman locker room. He was the last out the banner. Um, every time if I text him, he wants it on the captain's text thread. Um, he knows the name of every single freshman and sophomore and junior. He leads the running drills after. He leads by example. He is universally respected by every member, not just of our team, but I think of every teacher because of how smart he is. And he doesn't want special treatment. Our jerseys don't have numbers on them. And that's kind of with good reason. I think a neat story that I tell that I think says a lot is, and it's not made up. The day he got back from Texas with Will Randall, my oldest daughter, who's 15 years old, is special needs, spectrum of autism, and he knows, and they know she attends a school that doesn't have a lot of resources. Well, this school, because they've moved to a new campus, needed help. And they needed help in 120-degree heat, moving lockers from a donated Catholic school to the new location. So after 2 hours in the heat, after their trip, and what they had put in, I looked at him, I said, "This is such a hard ask. I don't expect you to go." There's a U-Haul truck in Kenner. And if you're not from New Orleans, Kenner's about 40 minutes away. If anyone, we can't, with gas prices, get a bus. If anyone would like to follow me out and help load a U-Haul and put steel lockers in to a new location and follow, I'd be forever in debt, right? But you would never. I don't have the, we don't have the, I don't have the money to give, whatnot. This would mean the world to my daughter. 20 kids came, and 2 of them were Arch Manning and Low Randall.
Wow.
And as Arch and I were going with a steel locker out, putting it in U-Haul, and I had tears in my eyes. I was like, buddy, this is a bigger than any touchdown pass you've ever thrown. And to him, he's just so unassuming. I texted the picture to Sark of both of them. I said, buddy, they just win. He called me 1 minute later. He said, please always send me those things. And you can't make that up. There's no social media. There's no anything. That's who he is. He's just a wonderful young man. You want him to date your daughter. You want him to be friends with your son. And he's going to be such a great addition to the community of Austin.
Wow. That is really amazing. Were you surprised that he committed when he did, Coach? I mean, I know there was speculation that he would commit, maybe before the football season, but that maybe he would want to wait and see how Texas does on the field. Were you, what did you think of his commitment timeline?
I was very surprised, only because he had been so guarded, and guarded is word. He's just been so focused. He'd taken his notes. He'd gone through it. He really hadn't given any indication, only to say, when you know, you'll know. And no, he shocked me, but it was such a relief. And as I went through it, I just, I was so happy for him, because he could be a high school kid. I think that, I really, truly, whether it was Buster Faulkner, Pete Golding, AJ, I told them all, this could go to October. I didn't know. I mean, because he just was going to make the right choice for him. So I really, really didn't know. With Cooper, we weren't doing interviews with, people that had come out. We just wanted him to kind of get in his bunker. So I had no idea. I went up to Cook at Manning camp and shook his hand, and I just said, buddy, I don't know how to tell you this, but you pulled this off. And he's a better kid than and I could see him kind of look down. I said, I don't want to get in that moment, but I was shocked, but it was such a pleasant surprise. And it just, you can feel it when things are right. I could feel it. And when you look at him now, and when he comes in and he's got his Longhorn, Air Force Ones on, and just his demeanor, just the release of it. I was shocked, but I was pleasantly surprised. I really was. What
have you made of the commitment parade since his commitment, the Pied Piper effect?
Well, I kind of heard about it, but I remember he was running. I think it was the next day. He goes, Stu, we got a safety from, Westlake. I was like, oh, he's coming to Newman? He's like, oh, no, I'm sorry. We as Texas. I was like, all right. I was like, hey, I'm not getting used to it. So I do think that speaks a lot about who Arch is. Kids like him. At Newman, he is surrounded at all times. I mean, when you go around, he's got 10 to 12 friends, and not just football players, it's guys from baseball, basketball, everybody roots for him. So I make of it that, one, I think Arch is obviously that likable. And look, I think that staff, they don't just form relationships. And look, I think everyone recruited right, but Sark, especially, I know, is big on recruiting the whole athlete, the whole student, parents, coaches, and that authenticity, man, it really resonates. And I think they've just done a great job of flipping the script. And, I think one thing that Sark has been steadfast is, even when things seem bleak, and you mentioned earlier about winning, he never wavered. When he talked to me, he was always texting me before games, incredibly positive. It wasn't about where they were. It was about the vision for the future. And they just kept selling it, and they never negative recruited. AJ Milwee has never said a negative thing. I mean, Pete Golding's one of his best friends. I said, you guys, that's crazy. And Flood, they all were, just so positive. It was all about Texas. It wasn't about, snarking back and forth. And I think that's what they sold.
Yeah. And I love it that the guy who hosted him on his official visit is a walk-on defensive back, Michael Taft from.
Look, Michael Taft might be getting a scholarship, because I'm telling you, he is unbelievable. They love him, and he did get and Archer's like, Coach, he had 2 interceptions in the Texas State Championship, but they just love him. He did a great job.
He deserves a scholarship after that, right? Or at least never to pay for a meal in Austin again.
Something. I can't speak for Sark, but I'm sure, but isn't that neat, though, that you have a walk-on that's passionate about Texas? I think that's a thing that, in the end, what's cool is it wasn't the grand red carpet. It was, the team activities, golfing, sitting around talking, and they went to the lake, those real authentic moments that did it. But I think that speaks volumes about Texas football that, Taft was able to do that. And I know, Arch and Will they just love it.
Well, what's up for the Isidore Newman football team this fall? How do you like your team?
I really, I love them, and I say that because this is a group with a lot of experience. Arch's class is, I feel like they've been playing together forever. I remember his first touchdown in sixth grade was a 70-yard touchdown to Randall, and now here they are. And I think we're locked in on really having that great high school experience. Now, we do have some talent. Obviously, we've got a tackling Brett Bordelon that Texas just offered 6'6", 280s, a sophomore. We've got a good array of skill, and it's. I think our defense, we've got a lot of guys back, good size. And, I think overall, obviously with Arch's football IQ and now he's expanded it, I just watched filming. There are not many kids that can throw a 10-yard dig on the backside read, and the way he does it, he's got really a mastery, I think, of what we've done and we've built to really conceptualize it, build the menu for him. All our coaches have worked. So, we're playing a really tough pre-district schedule. It's tough as we played, but it's what I call a state schedule. We're going to do that. We're going to kind of play all over Louisiana, Manny up in northern Louisiana. We're going to the River Parish for Hahnville. We're not doing ESPN games. We want it to be about the team and not getting caught in the little things. And, as he'll tell you, we've come close. We've been in semifinals 5 of the last 7 years, but in our 100 years, we never won a state championship. And I'd like to think we got a pretty good shot. And, we're doing football school in a week, which is something I know Texas has done and whatnot. And so we're going to do our, maxes. We get 1 week off in July. And as Sark says, you can see on my hat, all gas, no brakes from there. So we couldn't be more excited, but we're ready, we're ready to get to work.
Well, you've got Cooper down. What do you have a memory from playing with Peyton?
With Peyton, I think the thing is, to this, this day, his attention, to detail. And, it was really neat. What he does kind of remind me of, Arch with is Peyton was always somebody that not only was a good teammate, but I can look on a play sheet. If you call a play out and there is one little motion or whatnot off, 2 seconds, he was going to see it. So you better be right. So I've learned that with his nephew. If I call, trip to the boundary and it's supposed to the field, he's going to check me, and they were the same that. But, Peyton really brought a lot of neat things culturally. He brought team dinner night. He gave his linemen isotoner gloves back in the day, Dan Marino style. He took his wide receivers to camps, Florida State, Tulane. And that was when, we were known for running the veer. He named all of our routes. If you've watched again, we're very like, why do we still have routes like Goose and Slider? Well, Peyton named them at 92 and came up. So he renamed our routes. And, I think he really taught me how to be a good teammate. I guess my last one that's as big is when we were elected captain, my buddy Craig Clayson, the year after Craig, you thought it was the biggest thing in the world. And most guys, as they move on. 2 days after, Peyton took us to lunch at Dom Alisi's to explain what was important about being a captain. Here I'm a 265-pound, 17-year-old or a shrimp pool boy looking like, this is unbelievable how you lead a locker room, a huddle, dealing with guys. And, I could go so many. We grew up together. He's a good friend of mine. But no, he's even him with his son Marshall, watching him throw them, he's that same guy. But he really helped shift Newman to that next level. And, obviously for that, I'm forever indebted.
So is Cooper going to pay for your wife and you to get away for a weekend or something?
Oh, yeah, Coop's going to stay hard on me. I don't know. No, Coop's no special treatment. Not yet. No, he's been, I think one thing for me, and I mean this, is Cook, while he's a good friend and whatnot, I've always been a coach. I live in a little suburb, Old Metairie. You're not going to see me out and about. I coach. I don't hunt. I don't golf. I work out and I coach these guys. And for me, look, he has always been accessible if I have questions. As we talk about things, he's still a teammate, but no, he's done more than enough. And, the opportunity to coach him. And really, what's kind of neat now, I'm in the run game. Ohio Manning, people talk about it, and my pulling guard's pretty dang good. I think he might have committed to Texas too, and he could, maybe he could take care of all NIL. He's very funny. I'm just kidding about that, but he's awesome. So I've enjoyed both the boys. They're great, and no, Cup and Ellen have done more than enough. And thankfully, as my wife said, I'll let you splurge for a 45-minute Southwest flight to get to Austin.
I
So
love it.
that makes it a lot easier for me.
What's your wife's name?
Emily. So she is
Emily. Emily the
Emily.
Saint.
When I tell you she's the saint, she is pretty phenomenal. And when I say that about AJ, my wife has been great, but I can't tell you how many times I took 5 steps in and I'd hold up the phone and she's like, go talk to him. And you go outside, you get in, and she's been really understanding. Her rule with me is I don't care if it's 10, 11, or 12, but when you come in, you got to put that cell phone down for 5. And I can assure you, I've probably never gotten home at 7 o'clock with all we've been through. So I'm hopeful that she'll be able to go with me to a UT game in the future to watch these two.
I love it. Coach, anything else that stands out that you think is important for Longhorn Nation to know?
Well, I do think that, a few things. One, Newman kids go to Texas. In my year, way back in '95, we had 2 of my classmates go to Texas. 8 of them ended up graduating. So Austin really has a Newman feel. And I think what you're getting with these 2 kids, they are best friends. They've got a connection unlike any other. Will Randall does not have a position coach. We're blessed. Arch is a great quarterback coach. It's an extension to David Morris and whatnot. Their connection is uncanny. And they're both coming, and they are all in on the University of Texas. They're going to live in the weight room. They love the work. Today, Arch won every sprint. I actually went in the locker room. I was like, what's wrong with you? He goes, I think I'm overheated. And I tried to bring back in the room. We finished the 2 sprints. They're more than just best friends. Both will play. Their families are excited. And again, I think that I know everyone's excited about having them, but their skill set is second to none. And I can tell you, I don't know where I'll be in 20, 30 years, but I'm at Newman. There's no way I'll have 2 like this. I just got blessed in a 4-year one-shot deal. So, Arch, lastly, I would say it's the first name, not the last. He's a unique entity. And, it's not just dropping back. His ability, I know everybody likes the nuances, his ability to extend play, store across his body, and do the things you can't teach. Watch that East Jefferson game after the pandemic. We had been quarantined on offense. He had 1 week of practice, and he went out and did those things. He is going to be phenomenal. Will can be an on-the-ball off tight end, and I'm just blessed. I get to hold on to him till December, then let him go. And I'm just excited for University of Texas. And, it's all about the kids to me. And I just was thankful to play a little part in this process. And hats off, like I said, to Sark and AJ Milwee and Flood, obviously, and Terry Joseph and Banks and all those guys, because they certainly put their chips all in, and I'm glad it worked out for everybody.
Yeah, you played a big part in it. Last thing, Coach, he's going to end up playing in the SEC like his uncles. Anything to that as far as, the intrigue of all this?
Well, I do think that, one, I don't think that wasn't the factor. I just think it's a neat factor. I think the Manning name in the SEC really resonates. I know Archie would never say that. I know Cooper, Peyton, and look, they live for their universities. Peyton still to this day, he's Orange, and I think that's what's so neat is this is Arch's journey. It's going to be his own experience and a completely new SEC experience. So, I think it's really neat, to be honest with you, that now he's going to get to play the Tennessees and the Ole Misses, the Alabama, and really it's his journey. So this is going to be his legacy, what he does with it. And this was his decision, but I think it adds to it, but I think it adds to the story. I think it adds to the story, the Mannings. And I want to give so much credit again to Archie and Cook that they let him do that. And, a lot of times you see people guiding and whatnot, and I think this was his decision. So, no, I think the intrigue is just this is totally new. It's never been done. So it's a blank slate, and who knows. But I certainly think people will be excited. And, I know he's excited just to get up there and learn. And when he gets up there, you won't see – he's probably going to live in that building, so you'll see him a little bit. But, no, I think that it's going to be pretty phenomenal. I really do.
What's something we don't know about Arch? Like any interests, side interests? I mean, is he a great ballroom dancer or something? I mean, just something we don't know about Arch Manning.
He's a great golfer. And now I said he's a scratch golfer and he gets mad. He's like, I'm not a scratch golfer, but he is a phenomenal athlete. Arch was he just went out for track last year and he was the anchor on the 4x1. And I remember the time he was learning the high jump and I was behind a tree looking like, oh my God, don't get hurt. And he said to me, he had done it once. And Ella Aloise, who's now at UNC, my little advisee, comes up. She's like, Stu, your little baby's over there. I'll go help him. And she taught him the steps and he wins the high jump. And then, he is an amazing athlete. And I do think you'll see he has got a great wit. He's got that little touch of wit. Like, he's able to make fun of me and I catch it the second time around, and, he's got himself like, wait, what did you just say? Oh, no, sir, I'm good. And so he's very smart. So he's quick to whether, I was, all gas, no brakes. I actually, when I got the hat, I'd seen AJ, I took it. He's like, Stu, that's pretty awesome. I don't know if you needed to literally adapt their entire moniker for everything we do, but good. I was like, oh, wait, what? So he's quick wit in what he does. And he's got a great sense of humor. And he's also very unassuming. I think he just is going to want to be a Texas student, walk to class, enjoy everybody. And a lot of times when you see him, you'll see, shaggy, head of hair and a low baseball hat. And, I have to really look to see him.
I love it.
No, I just love him. So, yeah, no, he's great.
Well, they always say that Cooper's the funniest of the Mannings, of the Manning brothers. I don't know about that. You probably know about that.
Well, I think
They're all
Hyde
pretty
could
funny.
rival them all. They're all pretty funny. I think Coop off the cuff can certainly get about anybody in terms of how he can draw you in. So yeah, I think that Coop, and again, don't sleep on Hyde. I think Hyde Manning. I remember it was a few years ago. I got a picture of him. And he was about 9 years old dancing with Katy Perry in a suite at Ole Miss with a hat backwards.
Hello.
And he's not shy, but no, they're all really funny, and that's what gives them that authenticity where everybody loves them and why they're always surrounded. So yeah, no, I'll give Coop that. And Ellen's not too bad herself. She certainly has had a lot to do with it, and she makes me around everybody. She still is an all-state volleyball player at Sacred Heart, so it didn't all come from Coop. So
didn't all come from
good combination.
Coop.
That's right.
I love it. Well, Coach, listen, rest your voice. I'm sorry to have taxed it even more.
No,
really appreciate the time. Great stuff. And best of luck this season. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Appreciate the coverage. Really was my pleasure talking about these guys. I love them to death. I
All right.
hook them. All right.
For Nelson Stewart, I'm Chip Brown of Horns247.com. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, stay safe and keep the faith.